Doesn't matter. The specifics of
Yeah, I
what
get
does
what
and
you
doesn't
mean.
pass
Yeah,
doesn't
no, it
matter.
doesn't
The point
matter.
is a doctor could graduate at the top of their class with fucking accolades and everything, or they could barely pass by the skin of their teeth, like this close to failing out, whatever the bar is, but they're still a doctor. They still can run a practice and be called doctor and all of that. You'd never really know unless you personally ask them.
But then they just lie to you.
Yeah, they're good at lying.
They're always liars. Fucking,
Yeah.
you guys seen everything that's happened with the Pfizer vaccine all of a sudden? Jesus Christ, we're doomed.
Were we lied about that?
Yeah, and now it's giving everyone the heebie-jeebies. So everyone's shaking all over the place everywhere.
Oh,
it's fucking
yeah.
terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
All those memes, yeah. Well, that's a problem with the experts who would like the doctors. You can find any doctor and you can pay him to say the earth is flat, and they will do it. I mean, again, doctors said that smoking is good and a healthy way to lose weight. It's like,
Well, that's not really
It's
a
not-
doctor problem. It's not the problem with doctors. It's just the problem with the system that we live in and people in
I
general.
think it's a
corruption.
problem. It's a problem with people not recognizing that doctors are not infallible.
Well, yeah.
Someone just
we
says
place
the
too
experts,
much-
and you're supposed to be
Yeah,
yeah.
trust the experts. Believe whoever's a
don't.
doctor or a scientist. if they're a scientist or a doctor, they're instantly like infallible, which I don't necessarily think is true.
I certainly don't. The main person on Twitter that keeps spreading those videos of people doing the fucking Harlem Shake with the Pfizer vaccine stuff comes from a goddamn doctor.
Well, then which doctors do we trust and which ones we don't? Because
I don't know.
none of us.
I
none
think
of
a
us
good
do the
starting point is a
research.
doctor that can recognize what real tremors and seizures look like would be a really great starting
But
point.
we're not smart enough to know when they're telling the truth mostly or lying.
Oh yeah, no,
mostly.
I agree. You're right.
Like this is
Yeah,
obviously
I mean,
a pretty
I
obvious
think you can be
case,
smart
I would
enough.
say.
Like, okay, but I think you are smart enough to recognize when Pfizer says, "Oh, you should vaccinate yourself every month, 12 times a year," and also the vaccine we're jacking the price up to $150, and we're petitioning the government to make it mandatory to buy it from us. I think you kind of understand that there's like a profit motive there, and this isn't all about science anymore. Most people get that, but you still get attacked if you say, "Well, I don't trust that expert that just said that." I mean, you were literally, remember, people had their entire YouTube accounts shut down when they said that, the Wuhan virus may have come out of the Wuhan virology lab and not just spontaneously sprung into existence from a fucking bat. And now we know, turns out the conspiracy theorists were right.
Well, only in that case, and well, we don't know that for sure as well. By the way, we don't know because you're just listening to experts that you agree with that say that it did. That's what I'm saying. How do we know which fucking experts to trust? Because none of us do the appropriate research into the data or the surveys or the research information, whatever.
I think
to
that's a cope. I
actually
think
know.
you don't, and you assume no one else does either.
No, I don't assume no one else does. Sure, there's got to be like one guy that's right at least. There's got to be some kind of actual truth to things. But I don't know how to determine which one's
That guy
telling the
must be
truth.
depressed.
Because no one's listening to him.
Probably not.
Because
telling
no
the
one's
truth.
believing him or trusting him, and he's always correct about everything.
But what if it wraps around and he's correct about absolutely insane shit? So he's right
Like
about
the
the
sun
vaccines
feeding
and
you.
COVID, but then he's like, the aliens built the pyramids. I'm right about that too. I have the evidence, and he's just completely correct, and no one will
I
believe
still
him.
maintain there is now a new crop of ufology or uapology that is different from that of like 10 or to 15 years ago. I'm telling you guys, it's no longer just a bunch of hicks with half their teeth missing going, "I got kidnapped by a UFO and they put stuff in my butt." It's like actual like smart people talking about this now, and I'm interested, but I'm also not like
Smart people are talking
I
about
don't wanna
putting stuff in
actually-
their
The
butts.
stuff in your butts, what got you? Huh?
no. It's like they analyze the government papers that they release a little bit, but it's also something that I don't want to spend that much time reading about. But the problem is, I actually reached out to 3 different people on Twitter about UFOs, and I was like, "Hey, what's like an easy entry into this? Like, where do I start?" Because you guys just, when someone throws around a lot of terminology,
Yeah, you don't know
and
where to start.
inside terms, and
It gets confusing.
Yeah, I have no idea what the fuck.
Why didn't you just ask me? I'm
a
super deep into
101.
that shit. I check in on those communities often.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm always
Yeah,
looking.
he
Okay,
said
so what's up?
he's always said that his dad is like
Yeah, my dad's super into it,
He's
too.
basically a spaceship pilot at this point.
Okay, so does your dad this is what I read up yesterday. So apparently, the Trinity project in 1945, the first nuclear bomb experiment, because that's significant. It was significant for our human species because we reached the atomic age, right? Our first atomic bomb, yay for us. Their theory is, one of the many theories, that UFO sightings have gone up since then because they may have been dormant vessels on Earth that are basically just meant to observe us as a primitive species until we discover atomic energy and then mobilize to observe us further from the air, I guess.
Yep. So I've never heard that. That sounds like an actual plot to Singularity on the Xbox 360. I would say like the best stuff to look at is from like the scientists, because there are a couple that do, like you said, legitimately analyze like the files that they keep releasing, like the declassified stuff. But a lot of it's like really just kind of uninteresting because it'll be like, yeah, it's not extraterrestrial. This is just something we don't really get, but it's certainly from this planet. So it's just kind of like, oh. There hasn't really been anything.
My issue is a lot of the evidence.
Just means like Russian space.
It means legitimately anything.
Yeah.
Any other nation's technology, fucking astronaut farmer built something goofy. Like it just means anything, but they're not ever confirming that it's like something.
That's always been what's been known. Like that's always been the most logical answer, right? That most people have said.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is by far the most logical because if any alien species reached us, it'd mean they'd have faster than light travel, which right now we believe is completely impossible.
But so nothing's changed then, apart from just scientists are weighing in on it, basically.
Nope, it's just now that there's like the classified shit, people are actually looking at unidentified objects as opposed to just like, here's 3 blimps that flew in a weird formation, probably aliens. Now it's just like people looking at like, oh wow, this is a really interesting flying apparatus that we've never seen before. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's the government, it used to be, again, they would call everything a conspiracy theory. Yeah. And I guess in more recent years, the government has just openly said, yeah, but we don't know what the fuck this is. And then you have these government insiders, people who used to work for the CIA or NASA or the whatever the hell, they all coming out and saying, yeah, I used to work on these projects. They harvest crash sites for rare materials and yada yada. And the government keeps the patents and they hand them over to Lockheed Martin. My issue is, all of it is just hearsay. It's just he said, she said. In 1970, such and fuck, Bob Lazar claimed that he saw a UFO. It's like, okay, what do I give a fuck what he claimed? It's like, how much of this can you actually prove?
Corroborate. Well, that's the thing as well. Like, when you think about it at this scale, like, they're saying, like, there's whole teams going into harvest resources, and then Lockheed Martin's got, like, entire teams working on R&D for it or whatever. That's, like, so many people where it can get out from. That's why I don't personally believe that kind of stuff, is because like there's just so many points where we should have heard about it. Like actual
the amount of people who would blab, right, about the conspiracy.
Yeah. It's the same thing to me that fully debunks like the moon landing and JFK conspiracies. It's like you can't have that many people involved with such a giant scale thing over all those years and not have someone confess or something really get out,
But it's also what did I call it? We're like, not everybody has all of the information, obviously. Like the guy who pulled the trigger on JFK doesn't know that he did it for the FBI.
But you don't know that.
Of course I don't, but you don't know that I'm wrong.
Fuck.
Expert said.
Now we're going to do this all day.
I'm always for the more entertaining option, whenever feasible and possible.
Yeah, if it's like a 50-50, go with whatever's funnier.
Exactly, thank you. And also, whenever it's 50-50, always assume that the government is evil and will just stab you in the back.
That goes for like everything. Corporations, government, literally everything.
Everything.
Video game developers.
Everything.
Friends.
Experts.
Yeah, family.
Loved ones, pets.
Don't ever leave your room.
Don't trust anyone.
Don't ever talk to anybody.